So, I want to go over one of my biggest disappointments when it comes to one of my radios. I love everything about this radio, but I'll go over the disappointment last. This is the TIDradio TP-H8. And what it is a ham radio. It is a dual band ham radio that does 2 meters and 70 centimeters. If I can get the screen on. There we go. The screen on this is absolutely amazing. And it's not just because it's a flashy color LCD screen. Get that back in focus. It's everything that's on it. This could be a normal LCD screen and I could care less about all the colors. But the fact that it has so much information that is useful on it is one of my favorite features. So to start, you have, oh, come on. There you are. You have your regular channels, which on the Baofangs is what's showing most of the time for my radio. So I like to name all my channels. All my radios are pretty much clones of each other, of all the Arizona repeaters, and also some other useful frequencies. Like what I have here is the 2 meter simplex national calling frequency, and also for 70 centimeters. And you'll notice that you don't just get to see the name of the channel and what your preset is, you get to see the frequency that it is. That's something Baofangs don't do. And if you want to go to strict frequency mode, you just push one button. I don't know why it's on 150, don't ask me why. I think I was looking for some interference, but you don't have to turn it off and hold a button and turn it back on. You can leave it on and you're already in frequency mode with just the push of a button. You go back and forth. And the frequency mode stays as its own channel. It doesn't change frequency based off of what you are, because you can already see what frequency you're on. Another neat feature of this display is, let me get to a repeater. There's a repeater. When you're on a repeater channel, obviously repeaters have offsets. Get you back in focus. There you go. When you're on a repeater, you have your offset. You have your listening frequency, your receiving frequency. And when you transmit, it changes. If you're on an offset channel, it shows what you're transmitting on as you're transmitting. That is one of my favorite features, hands down. No other Baofeng that I have does that. And then just like any Baofeng, it tells you if there's a code on that channel or not. It tells you what power level you're on, what bandwidth you're on, and then there's just a little animation up here that shows you what your power preset is. This doesn't actually measure your power output. Now, when it comes to power on this radio, it's rated at 10 watts. And at times, I've tested it in a few different scenarios or a few different times. And sometimes I can get it to 12 watts using a meter. And other times, I can only get it to about 9. Yesterday, I got it to about 9. And that is also only at a very specific frequency. So that's what I was doing with the 150 yesterday. The 150 megahertz is where it gets its peak wattage. And as you go down to 144, it tapers off to about 7 or 8 watts, which is still better than any Baofeng. Even if they advertise 10, it is actually getting more than most or all, pretty much all Baofengs will ever get. And then up towards 450, 470, 480, it starts tapering down to 5 and then rapidly falling off after that. So, not saying that you should use this as a GRMS radio. I can focus. But if you do, it's still a 6 watt GRMS. I've averaged it at about 6 watts. I keep setting this down and focusing it, and I don't know why. I am using a 1.8 f-stop lens, and it is very soft. What was I going to talk about next? So we went over power. We went over the screen. I personally like that it's clear, because the backlight in the dark, the backlight from the keyboard and the display kind of spills over into the rest of the radio, and it lights it up. And then your transmit and receive button up here kind of lights up that area of the radio, creates a little bit of a light show for you. And then on top of that, signal stick has a translucent antenna option. Obviously the entire antenna can't be clear, but it does match the theme of these new radios coming out that have the clear option. I still wouldn't recommend the TalkPod. I would still recommend this radio, except for its one major flaw. Do not buy the TalkPod, even though it's another clear radio, because it has a lot of issues. Now, the first generation of this radio did have spurious emission issues, but this one doesn't. I've checked it on the Spectrum and the Tiny SA, Tiny SA. It doesn't have that problem. What it does have is a very clear speaker. This is probably one of the clearest speakers I've had on any $50 and less radio, $50 radio and cheaper. I think a lot of it just has to do with how close it is pressed up against the case, and it's pretty well sealed around here, so you're not getting that hollow sound that a lot of Baofengs have. I actually personally like to listen to the FM radio on this radio because the vocals are so clear that I can leave it at a very low volume as I work. And that's just another plus to this radio. Go over the menu. The menu is just like any other Baofeng. Oh, I need to stop looking at it myself and show the camera. Operates identical to any Baofeng. It probably even has everything in the same spots. One thing it has that a Baofeng does not have is the mic gain. This radio, this $50 handheld, has mic gain. Now, it comes from the factory with a mic gain at 15 out of 32. I personally like it at 25%, a mic gain level 8. I'm pretty sure the Baofengs are pretty much middle of the road, just like this was factory set. But the lower you have the mic gain, the better your vocal quality sounds coming through this radio. The only downside is if you have your mic gain too low, you're obviously too quiet on the other side. So that's why I kind of settled at 25%, a level 8, because it sounds better than a Baofeng. It is slightly quieter, but that's okay. It's still audible and understandable. This radio does have USB-C charging. Yeah, that in focus. There we go. Look at that USB-C. The modern marvel, except for the fact that there is no standards to USB-C, and that continues to annoy me. So the USB-C, the letter C, is the port design. The shape and pinout of the port is USB-C. That does not mean it works with every USB-C charger. What it means is it's shaped like a USB-C. It kind of looks like one. What it actually is, it's USB 2.0. So it will not charge if you plug it into any USB-C charger. Which any USB-C charger is generally USB 3.0 charging standards. USB 2.0 is 5 volt up to 2.4 amps. This will charge on 5 volt 2.4 amps on a USB A charger. If you plug this into USB-C charger, those are smart chargers. It'll try to talk to the device and ask, hey, do you want 5 volts? Do you want 9 volts? Do you want 12 volts? Do you want 15? Maybe you want 20. What do you want? And the radio's just like, I don't know. And then it freaks out and shuts down. So it's still better than having 6 dozen cradles to charge a radio, because I do have plenty of old 5 volt USB-A chargers laying around and plenty of USB-A to USB-C adapting cables, but it is not USB 3.0 charging. It is a USB-C port. The belt clip on this radio, oh, hold on, let me get you back in focus. Right about there. The belt clip on this radio is nicer than most. It's nothing to write home about, but I do appreciate the fact that the battery and the belt clip has this taper to it. So you can leave the belt clip on and it's still comfortable. You can fit it in your pocket and it's comfortable because it kind of rounds to the shape of your hand in the back. Also, it does not come with this wrist strap. I am a wrist strap aficionado, so I went out of my way to find a nice matching wrist strap for every single model of my radios, because it is one of the most important accessories you can have. More important, in fact, than the antenna itself. So, those are all the things I love. Oh yeah, I almost forgot one thing. This radio has Bluetooth built in, but not in the way that you think. In 2 ways. It is not Bluetooth audio, unless I'm completely wrong about that. But it's not Bluetooth audio. It is Bluetooth programming. You do have to download an app, but that's not too much of a problem, because what that app offers is searching your area for local repeaters, and you can instantly program it to your radio without having to bring any wires with you. And the way the Bluetooth works on this is hands down one of my favorite things. I keep saying everything's my favorite thing, but it's amazing how this Bluetooth works. You don't have to grab your phone and go into the Bluetooth menu and then wait for it and then long press so you can get into the deep menu and try to find it, and then you got to sync it every time you want to connect it. Then you got to go back to the app. No. This isn't consumer grade Bluetooth. You just go into the app, and the app finds the Bluetooth broadcasting its MAC address. And then you just, as soon as you can touch the button, the little virtual switch to turn on that Bluetooth, it's already connected. It's a zero fuss Bluetooth, and that's amazing. I wish more smart devices use this style of Bluetooth. My only fear is that for whatever reason, it's probably insecure, which is why nobody else uses that style of Bluetooth. So that, finally, all my favorite things about this radio set aside, we'll get to the part that I hate. And the part that I hate is it buzzes. It buzzes. At first I didn't think it was a radio. I gave it the benefit of the doubt. It does not have spurious emission, but it buzzes. I have all these monitors around my computer desk. I have one in front of me, one above me, one to my right, one to my left. I think that's it. There might be a few that I forgot about, but they all create noise. And then around my front monitor, I have an LED strip because I'm a pro gamer, and it also creates noise. I'll have to do a video about that on my Tiny SA. It creates these little candy stripes that wave back and forth. LEDs do weird things. Even my recording lights are LEDs. LEDs do weird things. So I originally thought that the issues with this radio, the buzzing, was just being at home. And I didn't really have too much time to take it out with me and do some long-range testing. But when I did, I realized that it was the radio doing the buzzing. And at home, it was just transmitting was making the buzzing. People would always talk about how bad the audio quality was. Even though when I tested at home, the mic gain actually makes my voice sound better, but it does have a buzzing in the background, and sometimes the buzzing gets worse over distance. I don't know how. There have been other people that have said it's the battery. I haven't looked into that yet. Maybe they'll come out with a hot fix. That would be nice because I really like this radio. Right now it's just a desk ornament because of how much I like how it looks for the most part. But I took it out into the mountains about 7 miles away. I had the vantage point of being at a high elevation with a clear line of sight. And I was coming through at about 8 out of 9, and the buzzing was bad. And then even receiving from somebody's home base station, I was getting buzzing. So it wasn't there. I also had 2 other radios with me because I was comparing the radio and antenna combination. But I was getting buzzing on the receiving end. And then with the signal stick, much as I love this antenna, this is a great compact antenna, but it is not the best receiving quality or transmitting quality antenna. It receives just fine. But when I was out in the mountains, I started at 7 miles away. And then I moved further into the mountains at about 8 miles away. No, let's just say 8.5. But there was a canyon that ducted my signal, and it was coming through really bad. The buzzing got worse, the static got worse. So I took the signal stick and I put it on the radio that was doing the best so far, the AR-152, and the signal quality did go down. But I did have a 48.8 inch antenna on the AR-152, so that's not even a fair comparison. This is still one of my favorite compact antennas. It's not only handmade in the USA, but you can do dumb stuff like this with it, and it'll be just fine. But yeah, would I recommend this radio? If you're a collector, yes. It is a good looking radio. The functionality is bar none some of the best at the $50 range, but I would say it is not usable except as a novelty item at the time because of the buzzing problem. And with that, I leave you the TIDradio TD-H8.